more Xanax because all I could think about was getting that high. So, and it even got to the point where my parents wouldn't let me come home. If I did, they would call the police. So I had nowhere to turn to. My friends turned away from me. My family turned away from me. And the more they turned away from me, the more alone I felt. And that sent me into the addiction even more. And I turned to the drugs even more. And I spiraled deeper into the addiction. And to this day, I still have false memories. And I still can't remember things correctly. Even though it's been years since I've gotten off the Xanax, I still have a problem with memory, and I can still feel the effects of that addiction.
Thank you for sharing. I'll ask you the same thing that I asked the other two. Were you aware of the dangers associated with Xanax?
I had no idea. I mean, I knew it was for anxiety, and I figured, like, if it's prescribed by a doctor, then it would be safe. So I didn't realize that it would be so addictive.
It seems like a very commonly abused drug. Tell us, what are the dangers associated with this drug?
Well, it's very important to take it like it's prescribed by your doctor. It can cause some really severe withdrawal effects if you just suddenly stop taking it, and it can even cause seizures if you just abruptly stop. So it's very important to take it like your doctor tells you to.
Thank you for sharing. All right, Andrew, are you ready?
Well, unlike Daryl, I was prescribed Lortab after getting my wisdom teeth taken out, and it just wasn't doing anything for me. I was just rolling around in pain, and one of my friends happened to come on by and saw how bad I was, and happened to remember that his dad got prescribed some OxyContin. And he went through his dad's medicine cabinet and brought some over. And I'll tell you, it was an amazing feeling. I didn't feel any pain. It was nice and mellow, but I also had this kind of energy that I just never had before. And it was just, I just felt great that rest of the afternoon. But by the next morning, it was just rough. Again, I needed something to take care of the pain. And again, I hit my friend up to see if he had some more, and he only had a couple left in the bottle. So then I started talking to some of my friends at school that were some hard partiers and asked them about what I could do to get some more of this OxyContin. And they kind of told me some of these Dr. Feelgoods around the area, and they kind of told me the lines to say to really get what I wanted. And again, when I first got the medication, I was taking it the way it said on the bottle, but soon I wasn't getting that buzz that I had early on, and soon I was taking it, instead of twice a day, I was taking it 3 times a day, and by the third week of the month, I was out of my month's supply. And at that point, I went across state lines and went to another doctor and another pharmacy to get some more of it, and by the second month, some of my friends and that started to see that things were a little off. And in fact, my girlfriend confronted me about it and asked me, and she happened to see that I was taking this OxyContin and really didn't understand why. And she really was begging and pleading for me to get off of it. But I really wanted the high so much that I just didn't even pay it any attention. And she ended up breaking up with me, and my only friend at that point was the OxyContin. By that third month, I was I looked up on the internet a little trick where if I crushed up the oxys, I could get a real big buzz. So one day after school, I got in my car, I crushed up 3 of them, and next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital, and apparently I crashed into a tree. And the police came and saw that I had gotten all these extra prescriptions, and I bought some off of some people. And at that point, after I got out of the hospital, I was faced with jail time.
Well, thank you for sharing, Andrew. I'll ask you again the same question I asked the other 3. Were you aware of the dangers associated with taking OxyContin?
I knew that it must have been a pretty potent drug, because the fact the Lortab didn't, at least for me. But, you know, and I knew that it was one of these that was pretty specific that you needed to do, I mean, that it's used only in very specific situations.
Do you think that awareness would have helped you?
I think if I'd have known more about what it could have done to me when I first got that first oxy, I probably wouldn't have taken it, and hopefully I wouldn't have gone down this path with this criminal record.
Thank you. It's estimated that 100 people die every day from drug overdose, and so obviously not all of these stories end happily. Would somebody want to share their success story with us?
I can share mine. So, it all started one day when, kind of like what Daniel said, my best friend passed away from an overdose. And it really hit me hard. And I realized that that my addiction had really gotten really bad. And that if I continued down this path, then the same thing could happen to me. So I called up my mom. It was the scariest call I've ever made, and I really didn't think that she would listen to me at all, but surprisingly she didn't mind, and she helped me get into rehab. And with the rehab, the first month was the hardest, and I really just wanted to quit and go back to my old life. It was just so hard trying to make it through. And it would have been so much easier just to quit and go back to the Xanax. But something in me made me stick it out. And I ended up making it through the rehab. And those group therapy sessions actually really helped. And it helped me to see that other people were also having the same problems. And to realize that we were all getting through this together. And that we could make it through it together. So, but my family let me back in. There's still some tension there, and there probably always will be. And there's some trusting issues there also, and I can understand that. My friends let me back in. Some of them let me back in with no problem, and they were very understanding. Others did not understand, and they just didn't want to be associated with me. And who can blame them? They don't want to be associated with an addict. So. But I was able to make it back into college and get my degree, and I graduated a few years later. But one of the girls in rehab ended up having to relapse and go back to her old life. And sometimes I think about it too. It's just so hard, and those cravings get real bad. But with the support of my family and my friends, I'm able to make it over those cravings.
Well, congratulations. I'm so happy that you were able to come out of your addiction and you were able to complete college. So that's great. Let's give her a hand. All right, before we go, I just want to ask each of y'all to just give one take-home point for our audience, one thing that you really want them to take from this.
I guess the key thing I would say is if you see somebody that seems like they're off and they're taking a lot of medications that aren't theirs or whatnot, make sure you're talking to like a parent or some other loved ones. Let them know about it, and confront them, and keep on them about it to get them off this. Because again, I know even in my situation where I didn't listen at that point, but I think if they would have kept on keeping on me, I think I would have probably seen my way around it.
I think the biggest thing to me is just make sure to take, any medicine you get, as prescribed by your doctor. I think that's the one key point, between all of our messages would be that, the medicine either wasn't prescribed for us or we didn't take it the way it was meant to be taken, and obviously these drugs can have some serious side effects if you don't take them the way you're supposed to.
I would say that one thing that I would recommend that to follow up with what Andrew said is if you know someone who has an addiction, you never know when they're ready to quit that addiction. So to make sure that you keep trying. I know it's something really hard and you're probably going to want to give up on them, but the only way that they're going to be able to get over it is if they're ready to quit that addiction. So just keep trying and don't give up on them.
I guess I would just add that success is possible when you do get addicted. I know it gets really hard, and it's really, really hard to come out of the addiction, but success is possible when you do.
Well, let's give our visitors a round of applause. We really appreciate them sharing their stories with us.